Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ambassador's Lounge. Today we are sad because one of our senior colleagues, Ambassador Tariq Azizuddin, passed away yesterday. He was ambassador to Bosnia-Herzegovina, Afghanistan, and Turkey. And we extend our deepest condolences to his family and friends as well. Now, coming back to our discussion tonight, that is about the developments in the Middle East. As we all know that Middle East has been undergoing tremendous convulsions for the past few decades, particularly the recent war between Iran and United States and Israel has stirred a lot of discussion as to how the future security architecture of Middle East would look like. And as we all know that last year, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed a mutual defense agreement. It is called Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement, SDMA. This happened on 17th September 2025, immediately after the attacks of Israel on Doha, Qatar, on one of the hotels where allegedly or reportedly Hamas leadership was residing there. And this has caused a lot of stir within the Middle Eastern region, particularly the Gulf countries, who have become increasingly wary of Israel's designs because of its outreach, because of its long-range missiles, because of its tremendous development and progress in AI and other security domains. So today we are going to talk about the bilateral agreement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan because a lot is being discussed about it. Some people are saying that it is on the lines of NATO because some of the provisions say that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia will join hands in case one of the countries is facing aggression from an outside power or entity. This is also being talked about whether Pakistan's nuclear umbrella will be extended to not only Saudi Arabia but to the entire Gulf region. So to discuss this thing, this particular topic, and delve deeper into it, I'm joined by my colleagues, Ambassador Asif Durrani and Ambassador Imran Yawar. Welcome, gentlemen, to Ambassador's Lounge. Let me begin our discussion, Ambassador Durrani, with you. What do you say about the possibility of Pakistan extending nuclear umbrella to Saudi Arabia or some other friendly Gulf countries?
Thank you, Ayaz. Before I deal with the subject, let me also convey my deepest condolences over the passing away of Ambassador Tariq Azizuddin. It's a personal loss because he was my ambassador in Kabul. I was deputy head of mission, and during my stay, 3.5 years, he stayed there almost 3 years, but the last 1 year he could not because for 97 days he was kidnapped by the TTP, Baitullah Masood, and then subsequently he was posted to Turkey. It's may Allah bless his soul in Jannatul Firdaus, and give patience, give sabr to his family to bear the loss. It's an irreparable loss. Coming to your question, I think it would be a tall order when we talk about extending nuclear umbrella to especially Saudi Arabia, and then subsequently if there are other countries which are likely, they say that this strategic agreement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan is likely to be extended to other countries. In this regard, Qatar is considered to be a prominent candidate. And then we can also talk about Oman or other. But Oman, I am sure Oman is unlikely to come because it has by and large maintained neutrality, so it's not going to change its policy. With regard to Qatar, it is a possibility. But let's see how it moves further. But more importantly, we should not forget that Pakistan's nuclear assets or its strategic assets are actually, those are there for a specific purpose. And it was India. We responded to India. It was not meant for any other country in the world. Our missile program is specific, India specific. We have not extended the range of our missiles beyond a certain point, which means that we can only reach out to the Indian territory. And then this so-called talk about that this strategic partnership would be akin to NATO alliance, and then Article 5 of the NATO, which means that attack on one country would be considered as attack on others. This is, in the case of Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, yes, it is there. And it is when Saudi independence, integrity is in danger. There's no doubt, and vice versa. So, and it's just, it was signed in September last year, and things are now unfolding with the passage of time. But at the same time, don't forget that Saudi Arabia itself is a power to be reckoned with in the Gulf region. So we should not, as far as security is concerned, yes, Israel may be a threat. There may be some other threats, external threats, and perhaps if the United States turns against Saudi Arabia, which is unlikely, but there are chances. But by and large, it is basically Saudi Arabia's security. We have been doing this service for the past many decades for the security of Haramain Sharifain. And that we consider as Pakistanis as our sacred duty to do that. But when you talk about extending the nuclear umbrella, I think this is something which we should understand Pakistan's nuclear posture, its nuclear doctrine, and then we can, in fact, expand this subject further. Right now, the answer is no.
Okay. Imran, about this particular thing, the extending nuclear umbrella to Saudi Arabia and perhaps beyond, it is being talked about that this is something akin to Article 5 and 6 of NATO, where it is clearly mentioned that aggression against one country will be considered aggression on all the countries. But Article 6 mentions the word armed attack, whereas this particular agreement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan uses the word aggression against one country. Now, aggression could be, in the form of terrorist activity, maybe a cyber attack or whatever. How do you see, how do you interpret this particular phrasing of this particular article?
Okay, as two things. Your question has two things. First is the nuclear umbrella, even for Saudi Arabia. See, Asif is right. Our nuclear doctrine is different. First of all, let me say that it's such a sensitive subject, such a delicate subject, that every Tom, Dick, and Harry should not be discussing this thing. What we see is any politician or any minister can get up and say, for instance, we have a defense minister.
To talk about this
our defense minister just came and said, yes, it covers Saudi Arabia. And then there was a Saudi official who also made a statement to this effect,
Absolutely.
but it was more a vague statement. Yeah. So everyone should not be talking about this thing, one thing. Second thing is, you wouldn't find reliable people, relevant people talking about this nuclear umbrella to anyone. So as I've said, our nuclear doctrine is different. Our nuclear program is India-centric. So diverting it to other countries, it doesn't make sense. And I don't think that has been, or this has been on the minds of our policy makers, relevant people who are there. Now, I don't think it was there. Yes, nuclear. Europe is covered by America's nuclear doctrine, but when it comes to expanding it, see, Turkey already has a nuclear. It's covered by nuclear doctrine or a nuclear umbrella.
It's a NATO member.
It's a NATO
country.
member. So once we try to do that, of course, we'll create complications for Turkey. But then, as I said, that I don't think this is going to be there. Now, coming to the India-Pakistan, Saudi. Defense agreement. So yes, defense agreement is there, and it says that attack on one or aggression on one is considered as aggression on the other. But this does not mean that we or they will put their military into fore. That does not mean that if let's say Pakistan is attacked by India or Saudi Arabia is attacked, but it does not mean that. Just as in NATO, the Article 5, it states that if one country is attacked, then it would be considered as an attack on the whole NATO. And how will the countries react? They can react through logistical support, through intelligence support, through provision of arms, through diplomatic support, and same thing would be here.
But
it does
Pakistan
not mean,
has stationed its squadron,
we did have, but that's for defensive purposes, right? It does not mean that if Saudi Arabia is attacked, that our military would get into that. I don't think this is there. And one thing you must keep in mind that this agreement, it's kept secret. Its different aspects are not known to everyone. So my belief is that it would not imply that militarily we would get involved. We would get involved in security matters, in defensive affairs, just as you said that we have our forces there. We could provide them logistical support. We could provide them weapons. We could provide them air support. We could provide defensive means. We could assist them in a number of ways. Similarly, if we are in need of their support, they can assist us in a number of ways. Be assured that if India attacks us, do you think Saudi Arabia is going to get embroiled in a conflict between India and Pakistan? It's a $42 billion trade between India and Saudi Arabia. So they are not going to jeopardize that. In today's world,
even
in modern
after
world,
what India is extending, its deep cooperation with Israel. I mean, it's a point of concern for Saudi Arabia.
Before this war even started, that is the war between Israel and Iran, even between Israel and Gaza. There were talk about Saudi Arabia developing relations with Israel. There were talks of Saudi Arabia joining Abraham Accords. So these things were there. Saudi Arabia has been there. Turkey has relations with Israel, and there's diplomatic relations despite all the hue and cry. Turkey's relations with Israel stand. Egypt has relations with Israel despite all hue and cry. Jordan has. So Qatar indirectly has been talking with Israel.
Yeah.
So all these countries have relations. And remember, what Asif was talking about, expanding the relations to include Qatar, to include Turkey, to include Egypt.
Yeah.
See, any defense agreement, any defense pact would need to have a common enemy. We do not have a common enemy. Pakistan's Israel is not Pakistan's enemy. Let's say Israel does not pose a security or existential threat to Pakistan. I don't think even it poses existential threat to Saudi Arabia.
But what about covert activities in Balochistan, which is being said,
I don't know whether there's enough evidence for that. But if there is, yes, there is. But I don't think existential threat is there. I don't know how Asif believes there.
Okay. Asif, let me ask you, so far, until the war broke out between Iran and United States and Israel, Middle East security was anchoring solely on the security so-called guarantees, if I may use the word. I don't know whether it is correct or not, to United States. Now it appears that the contours of indigenous cooperation between Gulf countries are happening. There was a meeting in the month of May while the peace had been announced between the two adversaries, Saudi Arabia hosted a meeting, security meeting of all the Gulf countries, in which Iran was also included. Now, do you see that Gulf countries are now hedging their security away from United States, while United States will remain a major actor in the security of the Middle East, but will not actively take part as it has demonstrated, during this war, and also when Saudis got disillusioned by United States, while they had provided territory and bases to United States, but in 2019 when Aqiq oil field was attacked by Iran, United States did not retaliate on behalf of Saudi Arabia. So do you see that an indigenous security architecture will emerge, post-Iran war?
Yes, this war has been quite a shock for all the Gulf states. Almost the 13 bases in these Gulf states were attacked by Iran. And because Iran construed those bases as enemy territories, the reason was that those bases were used against Iran. So it was much to the horror of these Gulf states. They thought that these bases are going to protect them, but it proved to be otherwise. So it did not.
They became a liability, actually.
It became a liability, and this is precisely the point. And secondly, don't forget that Iran is the largest country as far as this Gulf region is concerned. And it is almost directly, opposed to these Gulf states geographically. Only the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea separate these Iran and other Gulf states. And you cannot wish away Iran.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And United States used those bases to monitor Iran. And it turned out to be like that during this 40 days war. And it also caused a lot of damage to these Gulf states, especially UAE, Bahrain. Saudi Arabia also received those missiles, but Saudi Arabia, rather you can say all the Gulf states behaved very maturely because they did not retaliate. It was the United States which was retaliating, or Israel. But one thing is also clear, and which is a source of concern, and which should be source of concern for all the Gulf states, was that some of them allowed their air spaces
Absolutely,
to be used.
They provided air
Because
corridors.
for Israel, it was next to impossible to reach out to Iran, and this is what it did. So here, I think when you talk about the future security architecture and all that, so the kind of security which was intended by these Gulf states, and they thought that it would be very secure. And in this context, don't forget about the Abraham Accords that UAE and Bahrain signed. They thought perhaps they'll be more secure. That made them more vulnerable. And then with this, in the last week, the funeral procession of Ali Khamenei, that has actually generated a new debate that we thought that Iran, there'll be a regime change. Yes, there were change of faces, but not the regime change. System was there.
But Mr. Trump does claim that it is a change of regime.
And his funeral was unprecedented, so massive. Even more, many times more than when Imam Khomeini died in '89. And this was far, far greater, procession, a funeral procession than anyone in the world. And this was intended to give out a signal to the world also, especially to the Americans and those who think that they can pressurize Iran or they can browbeat Iran. So this is not going to happen, at least for the time being.
Okay.
That's besides the point that what will happen day after. Once this war is over, and when the parties will start licking their wounds, and they would see that what have they lost. And that would be, in fact, a very serious scenario for Iran as well, because the kind of inflation rate and unemployment which the country is facing is going to haunt them. And that would be dangerous.
Okay. Well, Imran, this brings us to one more thing. That is that Pakistan has been extending military assistance in various forms, not only supplying military hardware, but also training and other facilities. There have been naval exercises mainly aimed at interoperability between the various navies of the Gulf countries. Pakistan also has individual defense agreements with individual Gulf countries. Now, how do you see that? Is Pakistan projecting its strategic influence into the region and is now asserting itself as not only a peacemaker but also a country who can really shape events in the Middle East?
Well, I don't know if we can shape events. We are that potent to start shaping events in the Middle East. What you're talking about, providing assistance. See, these are the pillars of the future security architecture, which is being envisaged for this region. What do we imply by security architecture? Security architecture would mean counterterrorism, maritime security, protecting the sea lanes, joint defense production. It would mean joint military exercises. It would mean providing intelligence. These are going to be the pillars, and these will be the basis on which future regional architecture will be built upon. And Pakistan is doing that. Pakistan is actively participating in that. Then you see, we also should realize that every country which we are talking about, be it Turkey, be it Qatar, be it Egypt, they are no. I mean, Turkey is a strong country. With a very strong defense production base.
Yep.
Egypt has a huge army. It's a very powerful country in the region. Its interests are in the Red Sea. Its interests are in the Sinai. Its interest is in the Nile River. Right? Turkey's interest is in the Caucasus. Its interest in the East Mediterranean. Pakistan's interest is in the South Asia. So these are going to be the basis, keeping in view the interests, keeping in view the preferences of these countries. They're not going to, as I said before, that future architecture would be based on not on common enemy, but on common interests. And this is where the common interest of these countries would be. And this is how they are going. This is how this future architecture would be shaped. And yes, you see, Saudi Arabia, as I said, Saudi Arabia depended, in fact, the whole of Middle East depended quite a lot on the US before the Iran attack. They thought US bases there would provide them security. Those bases have not, and there's a talk that probably, for instance, the Qatar Air base would be removed and relocated in Negev desert in Israel.
Yeah.
But you see, we must also realize that Saudi Arabia may have signed defense agreement with us, right? But that does not mean they are letting go of
United States. Of course, certainly.
They have what they have done is they may realize that their bases were a liability. But what Saudi Arabia has done, they are diversifying their defense. Pakistan is there, but that does not mean that they are not still relying on US. The MBS was in US a couple of I think it was last month, and he was signing agreements with defense agreements there. So let's not get into this illusion that we are going to provide security umbrella.
Durrani, let me ask you one question. While it is being, bruited about that Pakistan perhaps, would extend nuclear umbrella to Saudi Arabia and beyond, extended deterrence, as it is being called. Now, Saudi Arabia being a member of NPT, as a signatory of NPT, it had many times, MBS had said that if Iran continues to pursue a nuclear weapon, then Saudi Arabia will be constrained to pursue a nuclear program as well. But at the same time, on one occasion, he said that instead of going through the big, complicated rigmaroles, we can simply buy a nuclear weapon from Pakistan. Now, do you think it was just a benign statement, or it does have some seriousness behind it?
I don't know.
Will we be doing that?
I haven't seen that statement, but at the same time, don't forget, as you rightly pointed out, that Saudi is a signatory to NPT. So are all Gulf states and all Middle Eastern states. They have a regular resolution in the UN General Assembly every year, which is about declaring Middle East as nuclear weapons free zone. And except for United States and Israel, which oppose that resolution, the rest are, in fact, they sign it, including Iran. So this is also when you see that it's a vested interest which perhaps is promoting this idea that Pakistan will extend its nuclear umbrella to other countries. This is maybe an attempt to malign Pakistan as well. Because we are
citing MBS?
No, about extending the nuclear
umbrella, okay.
Yes, so it is, in a way, Pakistan is already under the microscope as far as its nuclear program is concerned. And knowing full well that Pakistan is not the culprit going nuclear. It was India, we followed suit. There's no doubt about it, and we are not apologetic about it. So, and hadn't India taken this step, we would not have taken this step. That is much clear. And you have seen that the resolutions concerning UN Security Council resolution, these P5, they waited for Pakistan to, in fact, announce its nuclear weapons status. Then they came up with a joint UN Security Council resolution condemning both the countries. We waited for 2 weeks that the world is going to take the action against the Indians. They didn't. It was a lukewarm reaction. So we responded. But yes, we had the capabilities. We developed the capabilities because we were not sure of India. We did not trust India despite their assurances, because we knew that intention can be changed, and we were right that yes, India changes intentions, and we responded within 2 weeks. So here, why Americans are in fact scared of Iran is that if they have the capability, intentions can be changed anytime. And if it is just not limited to Iran. Right now, 32 countries in the world are just screw-turn away to become nuclear weapon states. It's besides the point that they enjoy nuclear umbrella, whether it is NATO, mostly NATO. But of course, Japan and South Korea, they also have the satisfaction, yes, the United States is a net security provider. I don't know whether the nuclear umbrella is extended to them or not.
They have cover of
but here I think it's my personal view that this is a way by the Western interests that they want to malign Pakistan's nuclear program, or say Pakistan's nuclear posture or its doctrine.
This statement which you said that I won't go for all this uranium enrichment, I can just go and purchase a nuclear weapon from Pakistan. He said to Lindsey Graham, and it was reported in one of the books by a certain writer. That I think was an effort by MBS to, because the war hadn't started with Iran as yet. So it was probably a message to Iran that, well, this is one option which we have. I don't. Of course, it didn't.
But it could
go
have very
well for
serious
us.
implications
Of course,
for Pakistan.
of course,
also.
of course. And this is why this nuclear, this talk of extending the nuclear umbrella, or even providing nuclear umbrella to Saudi Arabia, has its implications. This may involve relocating the nuclear weapons.
Absolutely,
And for
yes,
that, that would again be violation of NPT. Am I right, Asif?
Absolutely everything.
yes,
It's
there you
just
go.
not one.
And
then they would need to have a
And
central.
who will have the command and control?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. That then there has to be a command and control center. Then there has to be who operates them. It would be a real issue for the world, and this could lead to other counter alliances emerging in the region,
True,
which could, of
absolutely.
course, create instability in the region. Now,
Yes, yeah, okay. Let me ask you a very complicated question. Both of you, actually. All through this conflict between Iran, Israel, and United States, after the peace agreement, or let's say MOU had been signed, and the hostilities had been, put aside, or they were, they stopped actually. Saudi Arabia had extended its cooperative arm to Iran. And it was also learned and reported by some media that even Qatar was providing some money to Iran during this conflict for Iran not attacking Qatar, itself. Now, having said that, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Turkey having a vast military-industrial complex where it is manufacturing Khan, fifth generation, and it has other, armaments industry which is being
it's
quite advanced, and Pakistan being a nuclear state. Do you think that United States is giving a tacit approval to Pakistan and Turkey and in Egypt also, that they can, do they can lift the heft, they can do the, weightlifting, for instance, and United States will go in the background as far as providing active security to Middle Eastern countries is concerned. And also, that Middle Eastern countries are, since they are hedging, their security towards Pakistan, for instance, China, and India even, there is an agreement between UAE and India, and India is very active, as far as security complex or maze is concerned in the Middle East. Now, how do you look at this situation that is United States withdrawing its arm from protecting Middle East, because it has proven to be quite disastrous for all the presidents, who meddled in Middle Eastern affairs, and they had to cut a very sorry figure in the end. How do you look at this situation?
See, meddling in the Middle Eastern affairs is one thing, but U.S. withdrawing from the region, I don't think we will see that. For the defense industry,
No, I'm saying it's
for the defense industry,
active
for the
security
defense
umbrella.
industry, it's important for them to stay in the Middle East. They're selling a lot of arms there. So no, I don't think they are. Now, as what you have talked about, U.S. letting Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and deciding or entering into a defense agreement. You see, mate, this is what I said before. For a defense agreement, there are certain prerequisites. There has to be a common threat perception. There has to be a common enemy. Our threat perceptions are different. For instance, Egypt's threat perception is the Nile. It's Ethiopia, which is blocking the Nile water, right? Turkey's threat perception is within the region, East Mediterranean, where it wants to be part of the structure there, right? Pakistan's threat perception is Afghanistan. Our threat perception is New Delhi, right? So that's where our interest lies. So our threat perceptions are quite different. So talking about an arrangement, an agreement to provide a united defense, to my mind, it doesn't make sense. And as I said before, we talk about an architecture, regional architecture. Regional architecture does not involve fighting other countries' war. It will not involve. It means using our resources, combined resources, to ensure there is stability in the region, to ensure that maritime security is there, to ensure that sea lanes are open. In that, of course, China would be with us. In force, the US would also want. You see, at the present, what the US dilemma is that Iran is constantly blocking or interfering in shipping in Strait of Hormuz. Nuclear issue has gone into the background for the time being, at least. What they want is Iran to stop firing at the ships. But then Iran has a point. Under the agreement, they should be using the Northern Highway. They are using the Southern Highway, the waters of Oman.
Yeah.
Right. And then we see UK and France entering the fray.
Yeah.
Right.
With their navies, yeah.
This is in fact provoking Iran into these things.
Your take
No,
on
I
this?
think Imran has said it all. And security architecture, it would be situation based. How it happens. Say if there's a war between, say, UAE and Saudi Arabia, what are you going to do? What other states of the region are going to do? Or United States is going to do? Yes, they'll rush for mediatory efforts. This is what is likely to happen. But when we talk about this security architecture, we are talking about the external forces trying to meddle in the region. And that realization would come from the countries of the region. And Pakistan, by extension, has become part of West Asia because we are neighbor to Iran. We have suffered because of this war. You have seen the oil prices shooting up in
the whole world
Pakistan.
suffered.
So no country in the world could stay aloof. Even the United States, there you have seen energy prices going up, unprecedented levels. So we are it's an integrated world. Even if say we may not be in touch on daily basis on that, but when it comes to this kind of a situation, I think interests are common, and for that I think there has to be a forum, there has to be some platform from where these issues should be discussed. Yes, it's the job of the experts to thrash out what do's and don'ts they want to agree.
Wonderful. Okay.
And as if we need to clarify one thing for our listeners, for our viewers, that having Pakistani troops, Pakistani jets in Saudi Arabia does not mean that if Saudi Arabia is attacked, we will go on the offensive. They are basically there for defending.
Yes.
It's a defensive purpose.
It's a defensive.
So that thing has to be cleared in the minds of the people, because
The whole
they're general
agreement is
thinking,
defensive, of course.
that we will do this. You will not do anything. If it was possible, you would have done in the first stage of the war.
Imran, it depends on the causes. I think when you remember in '67 what happened, Pakistani Air Force pilots they went to Syria.
They fought on behalf of.
They had dogfights with the Israelis.
Damascus
It all
and,
depends.
I said that was a different time, different
this
history,
can
different
happen
thing.
because Israel's dream of greater Israel from Euphrates to Nile. I don't know what kind of that kingdom is going to be. So, and would there be any space for the non-Jews in that in kingdom? So I think these are things that are unfolding. So, but we have to assure the world that Pakistan, being now part of the West Asian politics also, has played a stabilizing role.
Yeah.
And this is the role this country is going to play in future.
Wonderful.
And as we also need to highlight to our people, to our viewers, that Pakistan, I believe, would not be fighting anyone's war. There are a lot of ways we could, under the defense agreement, which is quite secretive, there are a lot of ways in which Pakistan could assist. One is, as we said, that there are Pakistani troops there. Then sharing intelligence, logistics, military exercises, combined defense production. Right? There are a lot of ways we could be of assistance to Saudi Arabia. And then, yes, you see, as I said before, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia do not have common enemies. Our threat perceptions are different, but there are certain things which bring us together, which made this agreement possible, which made this defense agreement possible. For us, it was the economic aspect, the financial aspect, the energy security.
Yes.
It was the millions of Pakistanis working there.
Yeah.
That was our interest.
Our interest,
For them, it was interest that they are with a country which is a nuclear capable country with huge army, capable of defense production, which is quite impressive.
Army, of course,
exactly.
yeah, and
so
all that,
these
yeah.
are the complementary interests which brought the two sides together for signing this defense agreement.
Wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the discussion. I know that we have not been able to really do the justice with it because the topic is so vast and having so many implications, not only for Pakistan but for the whole region, that we could not really do justice with this topic. I hope that we will continue to discuss this particular subject as well, because Middle East is still in a state of flux, and also the agreement between United States and Iran is quite tenuous, and hardliners in both the countries, they are determined to kick the agreement down the road. So we'll have to see and hope that this peace will hold. It will consolidate also for not only for the interest of the regional countries but for the whole world. Thank you very much for listening to us. We will continue to unpack the situation as it develops. We will be with you next week, inshallah. Till that, Allah Hafiz, and do not forget to enrich us with your valuable comments and subscribing to our channel. Goodbye.